Before you marry my son, I want you to answer one question honestly. Not for me, not for your family, not for the people watching, not even for him. I want you to answer it for yourself. Because one day, long after the wedding photographs have faded, after the congratulations stop coming, after the excitement settles into ordinary life, you will be alone with your answer. And if you lie to yourself now, life has a way of exposing that lie later. The question is simple, painfully simple. Do you love the man, or do you love the life that comes with the man? I know that sounds harsh. I know some people will hear that question and immediately become defensive. But I didn't arrive at that question by accident. I arrived there after a lifetime of watching people, after decades of seeing marriages begin with promises and end with silence, after seeing couples who couldn't stay away from each other suddenly become strangers, living under the same roof, after watching love survive impossible circumstances, and after watching relationships collapse under the weight of things that should never have mattered in the first place. You see, when you're young, you think love is about finding the right person. When you're older, you realize love is also about being the right person. And those are two very different things. The reason I'm speaking to you today is because there was a conversation not long ago that I haven't been able to stop thinking about. A conversation that left me sitting alone for hours afterward. Not angry, not upset, just thoughtful. The kind of thoughtful that comes when life quietly places a mirror in front of you. Someone asked me what kind of woman I hoped my son would end up with. It sounds like an easy question. Most fathers would probably answer immediately. Kind, loyal, beautiful, intelligent, supportive. The usual words. But I didn't answer right away. Because those words aren't enough. I've met beautiful people who destroyed every relationship they touched. I've met intelligent people who couldn't tell the truth. I've met charming people who left devastation behind them. Character is deeper than personality, and marriage reveals character. Always, eventually. You cannot hide who you are forever. A wedding can hide it, a honeymoon can hide it, excitement can hide it, attraction can hide it. But ordinary life reveals everything. And that's where my concern begins, because my son has lived an extraordinary life. Most people don't understand what that does to a person. They see headlines, they see success, they see attention, they see recognition. But very few people stop to ask what it feels like to carry the weight of being needed by everyone while secretly wishing someone would simply understand you. Have you ever experienced that? Have you ever walked into a room full of people and still felt completely alone? Have you ever wondered whether someone loved you or merely loved the advantages of being close to you? If you have, then you already understand more than most people. Because loneliness doesn't disappear when success arrives. Sometimes it grows. Sometimes the higher a person climbs, the fewer places they have where they can safely put their heart down. That truth worries me as a father. Not because my son is weak, he's not. Not because he's incapable, he's certainly not. It worries me because no amount of strength protects a human heart from disappointment. People think powerful men don't get hurt. What nonsense! Some of the strongest men I've ever known carried wounds nobody could see. The world notices broken bones. The world rarely notices broken trust. And trust is what I think about when I imagine the woman who may one day stand beside my son. Can she be trusted when nobody is watching? Can she remain loyal when circumstances become difficult? Can she stay honest when honesty becomes uncomfortable? Can she protect his heart the way she expects him to protect hers? Those questions matter. Far more than appearance. Far more than status. Far more than public image. I remember something from many years ago. A couple I knew appeared perfect from the outside. Everyone admired them. Everyone envied them. People spoke about their marriage as if it was some kind of fairy tale. Then one evening I sat with the husband, just the two of us. And for the first time, he told the truth. He wasn't living in a fairy tale. He was living in fear, fear of disappointing her, fear of saying the wrong thing, fear of expressing his real emotions, fear of being judged, fear of being abandoned. Imagine that. A grown man, successful, respected, accomplished, living like a prisoner inside his own marriage. That conversation never left me. Because love should not create fear. Love should create safety. And if you truly love someone, one of the greatest gifts you can give them is emotional safety. Not perfection, not constant happiness. Safety, the ability to be human, the ability to fail, the ability to be vulnerable, the ability to tell the truth. Do you know how rare that is today? Very rare. We live in a time when people are quick to judge and slow to understand, quick to leave and slow to repair, quick to demand and slow to sacrifice. I know that sounds critical, maybe it is, but age gives you the right to notice patterns. And I've noticed one. Many people want the rewards of commitment without accepting the responsibilities that come with commitment. They want loyalty without offering loyalty. They want honesty without practicing honesty. They want understanding while refusing to understand, and then they wonder why relationships fail. Marriage doesn't fail because two people suddenly stop loving each other. Usually it fails because small acts of selfishness are repeated for years. Tiny betrayals, tiny lies, tiny acts of disrespect, tiny moments where someone chooses themselves over the relationship, again and again and again, until one day there is nothing left. That's why I care less about how much a woman says she loves my son and more about how she behaves when love becomes difficult. Because difficult love is real love. Anyone can stay when life is easy. Anyone can be supportive during celebrations. Anyone can smile during success. But who stays during exhaustion? Who remains patient during stress? Who chooses understanding during disagreement? Who remains faithful when nobody would know otherwise? That's where character reveals itself. And character determines the future. I think many people misunderstand what fathers worry about. They assume we worry about appearances. We don't. At least I don't. I worry about what happens behind closed doors. I worry about conversations nobody else hears. I worry about moments that never appear in photographs. I worry about whether the woman beside my son will build peace inside his life or chaos. Because I've learned something painful over the years. The wrong partner can make a beautiful life miserable, and the right partner can make a difficult life meaningful. That's how powerful love is, which brings me back to that question. Do you love the man, or do you love the life surrounding the man? Because one of those loves survives hardship. The other disappears when circumstances change, and circumstances always change. Always. Youth changes, success changes, health changes, energy changes, beauty changes. The future arrives whether we're ready or not. The person you marry today will not be the exact same person 20 years from now. Neither will you. So what exactly are you committing to? That's the question most people never ask. They're so focused on who someone is today that they never consider who they might become tomorrow. Real love requires imagination, the ability to see a future version of someone and still choose them. Not because they're perfect, but because they're yours. I often wonder whether modern relationships have forgotten that. People leave too quickly. People compare too much. People search endlessly for perfection. And perfection doesn't exist. Never has. Never will. The strongest marriages I've witnessed were not built by perfect people. They were built by people who refused to quit on each other. People who learned. People who adapted. People who forgave. People who chose loyalty repeatedly, even when loyalty was inconvenient. And that brings me to something I've never spoken about publicly, something connected to my son, something that made me realize just how fragile love can be. For years, I kept this thought to myself. I never intended to say it out loud, but now I think it's time. Because if you're truly considering a future with my son, there is something you deserve to know, something that changed the way I evaluate every relationship he enters. Something that began with a single conversation late one night, a conversation that started with a smile and ended with a silence I will never forget, a conversation that started with a smile and ended with a silence I will never forget. Even now, years later, I can still remember the room. The lighting was dim. The evening had grown quiet. Most people had already gone home. The noise of the day had finally settled. And there he was, my son, sitting across from me. At first, nothing seemed unusual. He looked calm, relaxed, almost happy. And as a father, you notice those moments. You notice when your child carries less weight on his shoulders than usual. You notice when their eyes seem lighter. You notice when something inside them finally appears at peace. I remember thinking that night, perhaps he's found it. Perhaps he's found the thing that every human being spends their life searching for. Not success, not achievement, not recognition. Peace. The kind of peace that only comes when your heart trusts someone. And trust, my friend, is one of the most dangerous things a human being can give away. Because once you trust someone, you hand them access to places inside you that nobody else can reach. You hand them your fears, your hopes, your insecurities, your dreams, your wounds. And if they are the right person, they protect those things. If they are the wrong person, they use them. That night, he spoke about love. Not directly, not dramatically, just in small pieces. The way men often do. People think men openly discuss their feelings. Most don't. Most reveal their emotions indirectly, in fragments, in unfinished sentences, in observations that seem casual, but aren't. And I listened, because fathers learn that listening is often more important than speaking. As he talked, I noticed something that concerned me. Not because of what he said, but because of what he didn't say. He spoke about making someone happy. He spoke about supporting someone. He spoke about helping someone achieve their goals. He spoke about understanding someone. He spoke about protecting someone. But he never once talked about what she was doing for him. Not once. And that bothered me deeply. You may disagree with me. That's fine. But relationships are not meant to flow in one direction. Love is not supposed to be a one-way sacrifice. Real love moves both ways, like breathing, giving, receiving, giving, receiving. If only one person is breathing, the relationship dies. So I asked him something, a simple question. What happens when you're the one who needs support? The room went quiet. Not awkward, not uncomfortable, just quiet. And then he smiled. A small smile, the kind of smile people wear when they don't know the answer. That moment stayed with me, because fathers notice silence. Silence often tells the truth words are trying to hide. And what I heard in that silence worried me. Not because he wasn't loved, but because I wasn't sure he believed he deserved to be loved. Do you understand the difference? Those are two completely different things. Many people spend their lives accepting less than they deserve because they secretly believe less is all they're worth. Have you ever done that? Have you ever stayed in a situation longer than you should have? Have you ever ignored warning signs because your heart wanted a different ending? Have you ever convinced yourself that breadcrumbs were a feast? Most people have, at least once, and that's why I need the woman who marries my son to answer this question honestly. Not someday, not after the wedding, not after children, not after years have passed. Now. Can you love him when he has nothing left to prove? Because one day there comes a moment in every man's life when he grows tired. Not physically, emotionally. He grows tired of performing, tired of carrying expectations, tired of solving problems, tired of being needed. And in those moments he needs something extraordinary, not admiration, not praise, not applause. He needs peace. Can you give him that? Because peace is one of the greatest forms of love. And yet very few people know how to offer it. Many know how to create excitement. Many know how to create attraction. Many know how to create chemistry. But peace? Peace is rare. Peace requires maturity. Peace requires patience. Peace requires self-control. Peace requires trust. And trust brings me to another truth that some people won't like hearing. I don't believe every person who says, "I love you." I simply don't. Age teaches you skepticism, not bitterness. Skepticism. There is a difference. Bitterness says nobody can be trusted. Skepticism says trust should be earned. I've seen people say, "I love you," while lying. I've seen people say, "I love you," while cheating. I've seen people say, "I love you," while manipulating. Words are easy. Behavior is expensive. Behavior costs something. Behavior reveals something. Behavior tells the truth. If you want to know who someone loves, don't listen to what they say. Watch what they protect. Watch what they prioritize. Watch what they sacrifice for. That's where love lives. Not in speeches, not in promises, in choices, daily choices, repeated choices, uncomfortable choices. And if you truly love my son, there is something I hope you understand. He does not need another admirer. The world already provides enough of those. He does not need another person impressed by him. The world already provides enough of those. He does not need someone fascinated by what he has achieved. Achievements fade, records break, titles change, public opinion shifts. None of those things survive forever. What survives is character. What survives is family. What survives is the person sitting beside you when life becomes difficult. That's why fathers think differently. Young people often evaluate relationships through emotion. Fathers evaluate relationships through consequences. I don't ask, how much do they love each other today? I ask, what happens 10 years from now? What happens when stress arrives? What happens when disappointment arrives? What happens when sacrifice becomes necessary? What happens when the excitement disappears? Because eventually it does. Not love, excitement. Those are different things. Many people confuse excitement with love. Excitement is a spark. Love is a fire. The spark gets attention. The fire provides warmth. And if you build a marriage around sparks alone, eventually darkness returns. A marriage must be built around something deeper: respect, trust, loyalty, shared values, mutual sacrifice, mutual protection. That word again. Protection. Perhaps that is what fathers understand best. Protection. Everything inside me wants to protect my son. Not because he is incapable, because he is human. People often assume successful men stop needing protection. What a foolish assumption. Success doesn't eliminate vulnerability. Sometimes it increases it. The more visible someone becomes, the harder it becomes to know who genuinely cares. Every father worries about this. Every father wonders, who sees my child clearly? Who sees beyond appearances? Who sees beyond status? Who sees beyond success? Who sees the human being underneath? Because that's the person who must be loved. Not the image, not the reputation, the person, the flawed person, the exhausted person, the uncertain person, the scared person, the hopeful person, the human being. And if you cannot love the human being, you should never marry the image. That may sound harsh, but marriage is too important for comforting lies. I have watched too many people destroy themselves trying to maintain relationships that should never have begun. And I refuse to pretend all love stories are beautiful. Some aren't. Some are warnings. Some are lessons. Some begin with passion and end with devastation. Why? Because people ignored what mattered: character. Character always matters, far more than chemistry, far more than attraction, far more than compatibility tests and romantic promises. Character determines what someone does when nobody is watching. Character determines how they handle temptation. Character determines how they respond to disappointment. Character determines whether trust survives. And trust is everything. Everything. The day trust dies, love begins suffocating. Slowly, silently, painfully. Most relationships don't collapse in a single moment. They erode, little by little. One lie, one broken promise, one selfish decision, one hidden truth, until eventually two people look at each other and realize they no longer recognize the relationship they once had. That possibility terrifies me, not because I fear pain. Pain is part of life. I fear regret. The regret of giving your heart to someone who never truly intended to protect it. And there is one memory I have never shared before. A memory connected directly to the question I asked at the beginning. Do you love the man? Or do you love the life surrounding the man? Because years ago, I witnessed something that completely changed how I viewed relationships. At the time, it seemed insignificant. A small moment, easy to overlook. But later, I realized it revealed everything. It involved a woman, a promise, and a choice that exposed a truth nobody expected, including me. And when I saw what happened next, I finally understood why so many relationships fail before they ever truly begin. Because the answer to that one question became impossible to hide. And when the truth finally revealed itself, it changed the future of everyone involved. Because the answer to that one question became impossible to hide. And when the truth finally revealed itself, it changed the future of everyone involved. I have thought about that moment for years, not because it was dramatic, not because people were shouting, not because there was betrayal or scandal. The most important truths in life rarely arrive with noise. They arrive quietly, almost politely, like a knock on a door you weren't expecting. And if you aren't paying attention, you miss them completely. This happened during a period when everyone around them believed things were going well. The relationship looked strong, the future looked promising, the plans were already forming, people were discussing possibilities, talking about what might happen next, talking about commitment, talking about forever. And that's when life introduced a test. Not a tragedy, not a disaster. A test. The kind of test that reveals priorities, the kind of test that exposes motives, the kind of test that separates genuine love from convenient affection. You see, love is easy when life is giving. The real question is what happens when life starts asking? What happens when sacrifice becomes necessary? What happens when comfort disappears? What happens when choosing the relationship requires giving up something valuable? That's where truth lives. I watched carefully, perhaps more carefully than anyone realized. Fathers do that. We observe. We notice details. We notice patterns. We notice things other people overlook. And what I saw troubled me. Not immediately. At first it seemed harmless, small, understandable, even reasonable. But then the pattern continued. Again and again and again. Every important decision seemed to answer the same question. And every answer pointed in the same direction, toward self-interest, away from sacrifice, toward convenience, away from commitment, toward personal gain, away from partnership. That was when I realized something painful. Many people love what relationships provide. Far fewer love what relationships require. There is a difference, a profound difference. One person asks, "What can I receive?" The other asks, "What can we build?" One person focuses on benefits, the other focuses on responsibility. One person wants comfort, the other wants permanence, and permanence requires sacrifice. Always. I don't care what anyone tells you. Marriage is sacrifice. Real marriage. Not the version shown in photographs, not the version displayed for the public. The real version. The version that exists behind closed doors. The version where two imperfect human beings wake up every day and choose each other again. That version requires sacrifice. Sometimes you sacrifice pride, sometimes convenience, sometimes time, sometimes personal preferences, sometimes sleep, sometimes certainty, sometimes ego. But if both people are making those sacrifices together, the relationship grows stronger. If only one person is sacrificing, eventually resentment arrives. And resentment is dangerous. It doesn't explode immediately. It accumulates, quietly, patiently, until one day it becomes impossible to ignore. That is why I care so much about the woman who may one day stand beside my son. Because marriage isn't merely joining lives, it's joining futures. And futures are fragile. A good partner protects the future. A careless partner damages it. A selfish partner destroys it. Those words may sound severe, but age removes your appetite for pretending. I've watched too many good people suffer because they chose charm over character. Charm is attractive. Character is reliable. Charm captures attention. Character survives difficulty. Charm can begin a relationship. Character sustains one. And if I could give one piece of advice to every young person listening, it would be this. Never confuse being desired with being valued. Those are not the same thing. Someone can desire you without respecting you. Someone can desire you without understanding you. Someone can desire you without intending to stay. Value is different. Value remains when excitement fades. Value remains when circumstances change. Value remains when life becomes complicated. Value remains when sacrifice becomes necessary. And that is the kind of love I hope my son finds. Not temporary admiration, not fascination, not infatuation. Love, real love, the kind that survives reality, the kind that grows older instead of weaker, the kind that becomes deeper after disappointment rather than disappearing because of it. Have you ever witnessed a relationship like that? A relationship where two people seem to become stronger together as the years pass? I have. And every time I studied those couples, I noticed the same thing. Neither person was trying to win. Neither person was trying to dominate. Neither person was keeping score. They were protecting something larger than themselves. The relationship. That is maturity. And maturity has become rare. Many people enter relationships carrying a consumer mentality, always evaluating, always comparing, always wondering if something better exists elsewhere. How can commitment survive under those conditions? How can trust grow when one foot is always near the exit? The strongest relationships require a decision, a real decision, not a temporary preference, a decision. The decision that says, I choose you, not because life is easy, not because you are perfect, not because circumstances guarantee happiness. I choose you because my commitment is stronger than my uncertainty. That kind of love changes people. That kind of love creates families. That kind of love builds legacies. And family matters more than people realize. As a father, I understand this more every year. When you're young, you think life is about individual success. As you grow older, you begin understanding something different. Life is ultimately about who remains beside you. The people who stay, the people who care, the people who answer the phone, the people who sit beside your hospital bed, the people who show up when there is nothing to gain. Those people become your real wealth. Everything else is secondary. And that is why the woman who marries my son carries such enormous importance, not because of who he is, because of what marriage is. Marriage is one of the most powerful decisions a human being can make. Choose correctly, and your life becomes stronger. Choose poorly, and every part of your future becomes harder. I wish more people understood that. Love should not make life smaller. Love should make life stronger. Love should create courage. Love should create stability. Love should create peace. And peace, there is that word again, peace. The older I become, the more I value it. Not excitement, not attention, not validation. Peace. The ability to sit beside someone and feel safe. The ability to trust. The ability to rest. The ability to stop wondering, the ability to believe that the person beside you genuinely wants what is best for you. That is one of the greatest gifts a human being can receive, and it is one of the greatest gifts a human being can offer. So before you marry my son, answer that question honestly. Answer it when nobody is listening. Answer it when there is no pressure. Answer it when there is no audience. Do you love the man, or do you love the life surrounding the man? Because time will reveal the answer. Time always does. The truth may hide for a season. It may hide behind promises. It may hide behind excitement. It may hide behind appearances. But eventually truth emerges. And when it does, every relationship becomes exactly what it was always going to become. I am not asking for perfection. No father should. No husband should. No wife should. Human beings are imperfect. We make mistakes. We disappoint each other. We misunderstand each other. We fail. But genuine love survives those failures because it is built on something deeper than emotion. It is built on character, and character remains when everything else changes. If you are the woman who truly loves my son, then understand this. I do not expect you to be flawless. I expect you to be honest. I expect you to be loyal. I expect you to protect what you are given. I expect you to tell the truth when lies would be easier. I expect you to remain when commitment becomes difficult. I expect you to love the human being, not the image. If you can do those things, then you already possess qualities more valuable than beauty, status, popularity, or admiration. You possess the qualities that build a future, and if you cannot do those things, then no amount of attraction will save the relationship, because eventually every marriage reaches a crossroads, a moment when excitement alone is no longer enough, a moment when character must carry what emotion cannot, a moment when two people discover who they truly are. When that moment arrives, I hope my son is standing beside someone whose answer never changes, someone who chose him completely, someone who chose him honestly, someone who chose him for the right reasons, because at the end of life, nobody remembers the applause, nobody remembers the headlines, nobody remembers the attention. What people remember is love, who gave it, who protected it, who honored it, and who stayed. That is what matters. That is what always mattered. And that is the answer I have spent years hoping to find.